I absolutely love shoot 'em ups. It's a recent thing, maybe it's growing older and appreciating the more arcadey nature, especially with their perfection for short play sessions. I remember the first game that got me into the genre fully was the excellent Blazing Star, a Neo Geo classic brought into my hands thanks to the Nintendo Switch. At that point, I tried eating up every shmup available, and when Psikyo shooters started arriving, I was in heaven. Most of their classic titles have been released on the Nintendo Switch's eShop over these past couple of years, and each one of them has been a special moment for me. Going into our back catalogue of videos, you'll see that it's me reviewing all of them thrown at me, and even before I joined SwitchWatch, I was doing them on my old channel. Psikyo shooters are awesome, and this is a collection of them in one package. Heaven. So here we have Volume 1 of the Shooting Library. Now, I know what some of you shooter fans or collectors are about to say, but Volume 1 of the Psikyo Collection is old news. Well, you're sort of right, but this is a different Volume 1 from a different publisher in a different region and with different games. Still with me? Arc System Works and H2 Interactive published the Psikyo Collections Volume 1 to 3 in the Asian regions, each featuring 4 games. This is the Shooting Library and is planned to have just 2 volumes each with 6 games and is published by City Connections for Japan. Remember, Switch collectors, Asian regions and Japanese regions are treated separately. So yeah, it may be slightly old news, but for those who held off on the 3-volume collection, this latest release is probably the better option. So which games do you get in this Volume 1? Well, you get the 3 Strikers games, 1, 2 and 3, or 1999 as it's most commonly called, Soul Divide, Dragon Blaze and Zero Gunner 2. Yes, it may be heavy on the Strikers series, but I think that's for the best, and it makes the volume feel more complete than scattershot like the earlier releases. So let's start with those games. If you're unfamiliar with the Strikers games, they were some of the more famous early successors for Psikyo. They're the classic salt of the earth vertical shmups, with the first 2 being in a World War II setting, while the third puts you in the cockpit of a modern jet fighter. While from a visual standpoint they may come across as fairly generic and nothing we haven't seen well before their time, Strikers sets itself apart with its painful, but oh so fun gameplay. Hardcore to the bone, the Strikers games offer a huge amount of challenge even for shmup fanatics. I have to admit, of all the Psikyo games, it's these that just kick my arse every single time. They are brutal even on the lowest difficulty setting. I can't say they are my favourite of their efforts, mainly due to the setting and art direction. I'm more into whimsical shooters or space stuff, and they are less colourful than the other games that they have to offer. Especially the second game, which is quite dark and murky. That's a weird complaint for a shooter fan, but the gameplay is still there and it will still make you weep. Hardcore shmup fans, crack those knuckles and prepare to get to work. Next up we have Soul Divide, which, I'm just gonna say it, is possibly Psikyo's weakest effort at a shmup. I reviewed this for the channel when it came out, and although it's still good and decent, it's nowhere near the quality of their other titles that I'd sampled up to that point. Going for a horizontal scrolling game and using highly digitized sprites that make everything look like clay models, it's got a lot going for it. It still packs challenge, but I do think your character is too big and too slow to make it quite as fun as their other games. They're still fun to be had, and it's certainly something a bit different for when you need a rest from their standard stuff. But yeah, it's definitely the weakest game in the package, although looking at Volume 2, that also has just 1 weak effort, and so, like I already said, these volumes feel far more balanced in terms of quality and series being put together. Dragon Blaze is one of the standouts for me, one of the deepest in terms of tactics regarding the gimmicks thrown into this release. With a fantastical setting of Dragon Riders, Dragon Blaze is a step different from Psikyo's other games. It retains a lot of similarities, but just feels kind of different. Maybe it's the art style, I don't know, but there's tons of quality here. Not only do you have your standard shots, your panic bomb and magic attack, but this time you can send your dragon out flying, placing them on an area of the playing field until you recall them back. They are very powerful and can act as a battering ram, but they also can help you cover more ground. For example, you can place them on the left of the screen while your character can cover the right. It's not an overly powered gimmick, however, as it's only the dragon that retains your power-ups, leaving your rider very vulnerable with pretty much a pea shooter. It's an excellent mechanic that really opens the game up once you start utilizing it. Something which I neglected the first few loops that I tried when I reviewed it for the channel. Dragon Blaze is an excellent vertical shooter, and one definitely worth playing, especially for the visuals, which may be Psikyo's best work. So colourful and well imagined. Finally, we have Zero Gunner 2. Oh my god, I was so hyped for this release on the Nintendo Switch. I envied those who'd played the arcade and Dreamcast releases because it just looks so cool. As a big fan of Sega's last console, this game brings warmth to my heart because the visuals just bleed that classic Dreamcast feel. Zero Gunner 2 went for something very different compared to what you may be used to with Psikyo's games, and it feels so fresh for it and lifts this package up completely. It's an omnidirectional shooter. You fly all over the place and enemies come from pretty much everywhere, which is where the very weird rotational gameplay comes in. It's not a twin stick shooter like you would expect, but one where you place a pointer that you strafe around. It takes a little bit of getting used to due to your brain not comprehending such mechanics that in another parallel universe should have been twin stick, but I love it. It's pretty mild compared to their other releases in terms of difficulty, which I do appreciate at times. It gives a bit of respite, plus it makes you feel awesome. Of all the games here in this collection, it may not be the best technically when it comes to shmups, but it's the one that I could literally pick up and play at any time, no matter what mood I'm in. Once you get into the flow, it's such a fun time. I know hardcore fans complain that it's not 100% true to the original in terms of a few aspects, but that doesn't take anything away from it for me. The developers of this port, Zero Div, were even aware of that and so titled this release Zero Gunner 2 Minus as an admittance. And it is worth noting that the games in this collection are still the exact same ones on the eShop that were all ported by Zero Div. It is those games, so you won't find anything different here if you already own them digitally. The package overall is 6 quality games. Well, okay, I would say 5 essential shmup games and 1 decent one. They're put together in a not exactly loving way compared to some other collections out there, but I can get over that. They've done something that I've never seen before by making the cartridge into 6 game menu icons from the home screen. Yes, they haven't even combined them into a single app, which is slightly weird, but actually it makes a bit of sense if you just want to dive into the game you want. It's more efficient for sure, but a bit of extra love would have been nice. All of the games have editable conditions, some more than others, for example changing the button layouts, how many points for an extra life, and of course turning those vertical shmups into tape mode so you can turn your Switch on its side, or if you're like me, turn your TV on its side and bask in all its glory. Honestly, is there any better way to play? I guess I could do with a bigger TV, I suppose. Looking at value, this package is only available physically as far as I'm aware, not on the eShop, although you can buy most of these games individually for a set price of $8 on the US eShop or £7 in the UK. The physical import on PlayAsia will cost you around $37, £30, although their prices are flexible, which for 6 games is giving you a decent saving compared to buying them individually. You'll be saving yourself about £10, plus you'll own them physically forever. It's yours. All in all, it's excellent value. 6 shmups, all endlessly replayable, a cheap collective price, plus they'll be yours forever. It's a must-have import in my opinion. If you're a Switch collector or a shmup nut, I'll pop a PlayAsia link below as to where you can find them. Affiliate links, so any purchase will help the SwitchWatch team immensely at no extra cost to you guys. There's also a special limited edition release of this, which is only about £10 more expensive, and you get some small extra trinkets. I was very tempted because I do love Psikyo shooters, but I'm not really into collecting limited editions, so I passed on that one. But I know a lot of you guys do love them, so I'll pop a link of that too. Plus, if you can't wait for Volume 2, which, if I'm being honest, I've already pre-ordered myself because, well, Gumbird. Or if you just want to get ahead of them selling out, which is always a danger, I'll put some pre-order links for those too, just to give you full coverage. I'll put some older Arc System Works releases there too, if you're a major collector and want everything. Before we get into my final thoughts, if you've enjoyed this review so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that little bell button for all our Nintendo Switch related content. We do all sorts of stuff, reviews, gameplays, features, everything. It's well worth it. If you're a regular, then don't forget to continue to show your support with a thumbs up and a comment telling us your thoughts on this release or just anything in general. How was your day? Tell us about your day. Overall, when it comes to classic shmup collections, this is right up there with the best of them. Of course, you could argue it's slightly money grabbing to not put them all into one cartridge, which, let's face it, would have been perfectly feasible. But compared to the previous physical releases, this is a much better option in terms of content and value. Plus, the games are divided far more conveniently and fairly. For me, as a shooter fan, it's a must-own for your collection, and it's the main reason I held off importing the other ones. If you're a shooter fan, there's no reason not to import this unless you own them digitally already. Really, the only thing knocking this package down is that it's not all 12 games together, and that would have been very easy for them to do. And that would have been a 10 out of 10. For now though, I'd give this a very lovely 9 out of 10. Essential for shooter fans. Which Psikyo shooter is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Will you be importing this bad boy? That's what I want to know. I've already pre-ordered the second volume myself. Anyways, check out a playlist of some of our Psikyo shooters if you want more information about each individual release. It'll be well worth it if you can't decide which is for you. And I'll see you guys over there. Take care.